You're watching Watch People Die, a show where we break down and kill count the good, the bad, and the ugly of horror. I'm Van, and today as voted on by the viewers, we're starting a pretty big franchise, because I'm looking at Hellraiser, released in 1987. Hellraiser, based on the novel The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker, would end up spawning 9 sequels, including both an upcoming television series and a remake. The Hellraiser films are about a group of otherworldly beings known as the Cenobites, angels to some, demons to others, who unleash sadomasochistic torture upon anyone foolish enough to toy with their box. The first Hellraiser, which we'll be taking a look at today, is about a sexual deviant Frank, who accidentally opens up a portal to hell when he tinkers with the box. This unleashes the Cenobites, who literally destroy this man, and the only one who can bring him back is sister-in-law Julia, who he convinces to lure him back to the house so they can be murdered by him, so they can work on rebuilding Frank's body. How many unlucky mortals fall victim to Frank and the Cenobites? Let's find out and get to the breakdown. It's time to watch people die. Written and directed by Clive Barker, the movie opens up in Morocco, where we see Frank Cotton, played here by Sean Chapman, trying to buy himself a new toy for the bedroom. Kinky. Fun fact, originally Barker wanted the movie to be named The Hellbound Heart, after the novel, but when that was rejected for sounding too much like a romance movie, he pitched the amazing Sadomasochist from Beyond the Grave. It's a shame that one didn't stick. Finally, after coughing up enough dough, Frank takes the box and goes on his way. Now back at his place, Frank gets his seance on. Careful buddy, one wrong move and that happens. Ooh, not kinky. And now we get a tour of his garbage-ridden home. And oh look, carnage! He opened the box and they came. Here we get our first look at one of the Cenobites, played by Grace Kirby. Originally Parker wanted to call her Deep Throat, on account of that gnarly gash on her throat, but due to the sexual nature of the name, it ended up getting extremely simplified, and so now she's only known as a female Cenobite. And here we have the lead Cenobite, played by Doug Bradley, but he's more commonly known as Pinhead, a name given to him by the fans. And fun fact, the earliest version of Pinhead appeared in Hunters in the Snow, an original 1973 play wherein Doug Bradley played the title role of the Dutchman, an undead inquisitor and torturer. Ah look, he's playing with Frank. With the Cenobites now done with their playdate, Pinhead closes the box, and the attic reverts back to its natural form. Now we meet Julia and Larry, who are moving into the Cottons' old home. Unfortunately though, Julia's not too pleased with the new house, resulting in a brief argument and Larry having to make a case for the move. Wait, what do you, you're just gonna put it on the floor, huh? Julia doesn't have time to talk like adults. She's probably too busy wondering when she'll be able to hop Frank's bones next. Larry then heads to the kitchen. Oh my god, well something must have died in here. Julia then calls out to Larry, sounding as she's made a horrific discovery. But nope, it's just an empty suitcase and some nudie pics. They then come to the realization that Frank was staying here, with Larry assuming he flew the coop. Using his super hearing, because there was literally not even a single sound, Larry hurries downstairs, giving Julia time to look around.
Who is this?
Okay buddy, you're acting like this dead quiet phone call's been harassing you all night.
Dad.
Kirsty!
That's the smile of a dad who kisses his kids on the mouth. This is Kirsty, played by Ashley Lawrence in her first ever film role. She's the daughter of Larry, who's very adamant on her coming over and staying with them for a while. We then flip-flop for a few minutes, watching as Julia looks through Frank's nudes, and Larry tries and fails to get his daughter to come over. And bam! It's now Sunday and the movers are here. Doing, well, moving the things in. Like, that's what they do. That's what a mover is. And fun fact, Doug Bradley was almost one of the movers here. And it was a tough choice for him too, because the Pinhead makeup making him unrecognizable was a big deal. And he was right, because even some of the crew didn't recognize the guy out of makeup. Kirsty's arrived at the house, after a lengthy shot of her walking here that the filmmakers really thought we needed.
There's the kitchen.
Okay.
Yep, see, called it, Mouth Kissing Dad. As Kirsty heads to the kitchen to make herself a coffee, and the movers are making suggestive comments about her dead mom.
Got her mother's looks.
Her mother's dead.
Oh.
Julia, who's still obsessing over Frank's pics, has a flashback.
Can I come in? Can I come in?
Brother Frank makes his debut like someone ready to smash. And he ain't the only one who's wet. So is her stepdaughter. What'd you think I meant? Completely ignoring Kirsty's request for a towel, Julia heads to the attic and has another flashback.
You're gonna let me kiss the bride?
But you're married to his brother, for crying out loud. Pretty recently, I might add. What is wrong with you? She brings up Larry, and if it weren't for the fact she was already half naked and just done making out with the guy, maybe I'd actually give a shit. Frank then pulls a knife on her, telling her to forget about him, showing us what kind of a brother this man really is. Dang, no remorse? Not even a little bit? She then lays down on the bed. Can't show you any of this, but what I can do is tell you this movie was bordering on erotica at one point, and several changes had to be made to tone down the wild sex and booty spankings. 2 is okay. 3 is where we enter porn territory. Meanwhile, Larry's downstairs moving the bed, and... What the hell, dumbass? Weren't you listening to a thing the movers told you?
Got me off! Alright.
Julia, being a useless horn dog, looks upset at first when Larry would dare to disturb her fantasy time. But when she notices he's spilling Kool-Aid all over, she takes a look at his hand. Because our boy Larry is scared of blood.
Is it deep?
I don't know, I haven't looked. You know me and blood.
While they leave to deal with that, the blood runs underneath the floorboards, thus starting the rebirth of Frank. Fun fact, this iconic scene where Frank starts taking the form of a human again was accomplished by creating the pieces, melting them, and running the footage in reverse, along with some assistance from the animatronic arms to keep the body up.
This doctor's poking around with all the delicacy and compassion of Joseph Mengele.
Oh god, Larry's trying to make his little stitch sound like open heart surgery.
Bill, I should look. You know all about that stuff. I'll call you tomorrow. We'll sue his ass.
No, Larry, you can't sue because you're afraid of blood. While nobody but this lady seems entertained by his story, Kirsty, on the other hand, is very entertained by this guy putting a cigarette in his mouth. Because maybe her life's really boring. Speaking of boring, everyone here at this table sucks. At least at keeping Julie entertained. She excuses herself from the table, followed by two other people who Larry stops dead in their tracks.
We're celebrating.
What?
Something.
Oh, okay. Sounds like something's upstairs, maybe you better go check it out. Hearing some ghostly whispering as she goes for the door. Opening it made them all shut the hell up. Maybe they were shy. Oh god, it's right, that should look nasty. But don't stare at that rat shit too long, Julie. We have guests over. Frank here is played by character actor Oliver Smith. And though this will be the new and improved Frank, we're still not done with the sleazy flashback Frank.
I said, don't look.
If you didn't want her looking at you, you should have been a bit more subtle with that leg grab. Frank tells Julia that the blood is what brought him back this far, and begs for her help. And then we cut over to Kirsty, who may have had a little too much to drink. We cut back to Julia, who Frank is still begging and attempting to guilt trip into helping. And after seeing Kirsty in the hallway, she's giving off some real evil stepmom vibes. Better watch out, Kirst. She and her new boy toy then head out, and after passing a homeless man who we'll probably never see again, they head into the subway to lock lips. Romantic. Chilling in bed with her husband, Julia's having more flashbacks of the good old days, where Frank used to have a fully functioning penis. And this is enough for her to decide it's worth helping Frank murder people. Man, what a woman will do for a good fuck. That, by the way, was apparently actually pitched for the movie title. Well, bam! Suddenly we're in a not creepy at all room where Kirsty's getting jump scared by a living dead dad. But don't worry, Kirsty, nothing bad ever happened in a nightmare. She then calls home to check on her crybaby chicken shit of a dad.
Kirsty.
You're giving off some creeper vibes, Uncle Frank. The next day, Julia dolled herself up to lure a man home.
Change your fucking mind, are you?
Rapey. Leading him upstairs and locking the door, the man gets semi-nude. And I'm not sure which actor it was, but one of her victims insisted on being fully nude. The scene was shot, but ultimately, like a lot of things, had to get cut. As things are heating up, he decides he has to go pee, but as he's fumbling with the knob, it's hammer time. Fun fact, some cuts had to be made to this scene to avoid an X rating. 2.5 shots had to be removed, one of which being a close-up of the hammer in this guy's head. Dinner time, Frankie.
Don't look at me.
Don't worry, buddy, with a face like yours, none of us want to look at you. After cleaning up, Julia heads back to the attic to see Frank has evolved, from Monster Frank to mostly Monster Frank. But before anything can happen, Larry's home. Yeah, Julia, no, just covered up with the coat, no one's gonna notice. Julia then disposes of the evidence, and as Larry's checking on her, she claims to be sick and tells him to grab her a drink. She then has a little chat with Frank, where he tells her he needs 1 or 2 more bodies, then they could run away together. Man, this video's getting demonetized. As for Kirsty, she's having a headache of a time working at the pet store, dealing with annoying kids, Karens, and homeless. Oh my.
Give those back.
Grasshoppers. And now on to victim number 2, who, just as quickly as he's introduced, seems to take a thwacking like the last guy. Hey, looking better, Frankie. And I see you've now evolved into Skinless Frank. Good for you. As Frank's explaining to Julia how all this happened, we get our first glimpse of Butterball and Chatterer.
The Cenobites gave me an experience beyond the limits.
Fun fact, this scene was a camera test and the first thing they actually shot for the movie. And afterwards, Sean Chapman, the actor who played Frank, couldn't keep from getting sick and throwing up all over the place. Later that night, as Larry and Julia are watching boxing, Frank makes a commotion upstairs, prompting Larry to go look. But before he even makes it all the way upstairs, Julia makes some excuse about leaving a window open and being scared of thunder. Which you'd think, if the fear were true, Larry would have known that by now, but oh well. Larry's bullshit detector goes off as she's laying the lip on him, and the two head upstairs only to find the attic empty.
It's probably a rat.
Oh, you mean one of these dead rats? And as Larry and Julia go to the bedroom for some PG-13 sexy time, Frank watches from the closet. Pervert. He comes at them with a knife while Larry's smooching on Julie's shoulder, all the while she's begging Frank not to do anything. Larry, man, does your lady crying no really not make you stop to see what's going on? One sliced up rat carcass and some more crying from Julia, Frank backs away and Larry finally decides to see what's wrong. Now, in what we can assume is the next day, Larry and Kirsty have a chat about strange old Julia before heading back to the house. Julia is very blunt about not loving Larry, but maybe she likes him just enough to not want him dead. That, or the more likely thing, it would make her look very suspicious. Either way, now she's gotta grab a new victim. Should've been more careful, silly, you just got caught. After luring the man upstairs, he immediately knows something's up. Upon spotting Frank, good hiding spot by the way, Julia nails him with the trusty dusty hammer, and Frank swoops in to finish the job. With whatever the hell this is.
Get out of here!
Please. Don't let him kill me.
Unfortunately for them, Kirsty heard the murder from outside. Making her way upstairs, Julia slips into the bathroom, and when the dying man Julia led home pops out from the doorway, Frank takes his first steps out of the attic to finish him off.
It's Frank. It's Uncle Frank.
No!
You remember?
No!
Come to Daddy.
More scary, less rapey. After getting into a fight, this gut tearing was originally much more graphic by the way, Kirsty grabs the box and when it comes clear that it's important to Frank, yeets it out the window.
Give me the box!
What in fucking happened?
After getting far the hell away from that house and passing a couple nuns, Kirsty slumps down and maybe faints? I mean, there's gotta be a reason this next scene happens, because now we're in a hospital.
What about this? Ring any bells? You were hanging onto it like grim death.
Why the hell do you have her personal belongings, Doctor?
Well, the police will want to speak to you.
What? Why did you call the police? I mean, it's good someone did, because now Kirsty could report Julie and Frank, but you had no reason to do that, or take her shit. I don't like you, Doc, you're weird. Locking her in the room, Kirsty takes a seat on the bed, and after the TV flickers, she decides to play with this cool Rubik's Cube. But doing so, the wall cracks open, revealing a long corridor filled with the sound of the baby crying from her nightmare. Oh look, it's the engineer, and he angry. And he gone. Well, behind a wall. Toying with the box, probably trying to despawn the demon she summoned, she ends up solving it and unleashing the Cenobites.
The box. You opened it. We came.
It's just a puzzle box!
Before the Cenobites are able to take Kirsty with them into the bowels of hell, she makes a deal with them. In exchange for her own life, she'll give them Frank's, but if she tries to cheat them,
We'll tear your soul apart.
that. Julie and Frank are then seen talking about what they should do now that Kirsty knows what's up, and rather than making a run for it, they decide Larry's better than nothing. And though we don't see it happen, this is the last we'll ever be seeing of Larry alive, so we may as well add another one to the count. After donning a new skin, Julie and Frank get right to it and bump uglies right before Kirsty arrives, and we see Frank's final evolution. He turned into a Larry. Kirsty runs right to Frank, who she believes to be her dad. He comforts her by telling her he killed Frank, but Kirsty can't believe it, and says she needs to see the body. And here we see Frank's totally great at changing the topic and not looking suspicious, just like Julia.
I need to see him.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do!
See what I mean? Now we get to see what happened to Larry. And after Julia ducked out, the Cenobites show up. They tell her they want the man who killed the body lying before them. But Kirsty, who for some reason thinks her chicken shit of a dad is capable of murder, runs off to warn him, still believing Frank to be her dear old dad. Getting into a fight with Julia on the stairs, Kirsty tries to get her and her dad out of there. But Frank's given up on the act. He goes for Kirsty, causing her to scratch him in self-defense, and gets grabbed by Julia. But Julia, there's a reason you had to do multiple hammer swings. You're just not that strong. As Frank comes at Kirsty with a knife, she gets herself free at the last second, causing Frank to kill Julia. Kirsty books it upstairs, hiding from— Jeez! As I was saying, Kirsty's now hiding from— you know what? Whatever, maggots. She's hiding from maggots. Leaving her hiding place, she pulls an Alice Hardesty and just chills with her back turned to the 3 doors, one of which has a killer behind it. Surprise! Frank ends up trapping Kirsty in the attic, and just as he's preparing to kill her, something happens to make him shit his pants. Hey, you pinhead! Pinhead tells Kirsty to GTFO, which makes Frank realize—
You set me up.
well, no shit, asshole. You've helped Julia cheat on her husband and murder people. You give off serious molester vibes. Then you murdered her dad and tried to kill her too. What did you expect, to thank you? He goes to kill Kirsty, but the Cenobites ain't got time for that. After Frank gets filled with all kinds of hooks, Kirsty nopes out and his soul gets torn apart.
Jesus wept.
Fun fact, this scene was a lot longer, and included a much more graphic scene where Frank's head exploded and brain goo splattered out, but like a number of things in this movie had to be toned down quite a bit. Also, the iconic line "Jesus wept" was improvised by actor Andrew Robinson, who convinced Barker to keep it as opposed to the original much more simple F you. Kirsty then tries to leave, but Pinhead did say maybe to their deal, and that sure ain't a definite yes. As she's hurrying downstairs, the female Cenobite comes at her with a hook. No, look, wall blood! Kirsty attempts running away by going further upstairs and finds the element configuration. How and why is this with Julia all of a sudden? Winging it, she messes with the box, and Pinhead, much like Frank, made it very obvious that he didn't want her doing that, and so she's doing that and sends him back to hell. You too, female Cenobite. Kirsty's crush has arrived, but now she's got to deal with another demon. Slamming that box down into Chatterer's Chatterer, she sends his ass back to hell with the others. Till we meet again, beautiful. Kirsty then finds Steve, and Butterball's found him, and a freaking rafter found him. The two then run into the engineer, who delivers a sucker punch to Steve. Kirsty and the demon fight over the box for a minute, but she eventually gets a hold of it and magic deep throats it back to hell. They then leave the house and burn it down. Hopefully Butterball got teleported back too. Otherwise, boy, that's gotta be painful. No, Kirsty, it's metal. It doesn't work like that. But don't worry, Box. Your guardian is here to fly you away. And now, sequel bait. How you doing, buddy? Wanna buy a sex box? How many souls were torn apart by Frank and the Cenobites? Let's find out and get to the kills. Right after I check out what this box does. Narvi? I'll be right back. I'm really shit at Rubik's Cubes. In the end, 1987's Hellraiser has a total of 6 kills. The victims were all men, with 4 killed by Frank and Julia and 2 by the Cenobites. And at a runtime of 34 minutes, that comes out to a kill every 15.6 minutes. Yeah, this part was inspired by Dead Meat. Now let's get to the awards. The bronze kitchen knife for worst kill has to go to victim number 2. It just happened so fast and it wasn't as good as the others.
I like to be careful.
The silver hockey mask for best kill has to go to Frank in the Jesus Wept scene.
Jesus wept.
And the golden Frank for most memorable once again goes to Frank. And now for Hellraiser's specific award. The award for best looking Cenobite goes to Chatterer. You're cool and all, Pinhead, but Chatterer's pretty awesome. There you have it, the first Hellraiser. Stay tuned for more because I'll be covering all the rest, along with some one-offs and shorter series to do throughout the weekly Hellraiser stuff. If you like me and want to support what I do, you can become a channel member, or a patron over on Patreon, where you'll get exclusive perks like access to videos early. Thank you for watching, I'll catch you back here again with more dead people. Have a nice day.